Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. We take complex topics, unpack them, and give you the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight. Today, we're plunging into a topic that touches, well, pretty much every corner of our digital lives: the pervasive nature of data.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. Think
What?
about it. Every click, every smart device interaction, every online scroll. It all generates this massive, continuous stream of information. It can feel a bit overwhelming, right?
Definitely.
And you might be curious, as many of us are, about how organizations, and maybe even you in your personal life, can effectively manage this data without sacrificing privacy or, crucially, trust.
That trust piece is huge.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is to demystify a really important tool in this increasingly data-driven world: the NIST Privacy Framework.
NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Right. Now, if that sounds a bit technical, don't worry too much. In simple terms, it's a voluntary guide. It's risk and outcome-based.
Which means it focuses on the results you want, not just a rigid checklist.
Precisely. It's designed to help organizations manage privacy risks. It's not a law, but it's a remarkably powerful and flexible framework.
Very flexible.
And why does this particular deep dive matter to you listening in? Well, it's really about understanding how organizations can genuinely build customer trust through ethical data practices, future-proof their products and services, and just communicate about privacy in a meaningful, understandable way.
Moving beyond the legalese.
Exactly. And as we unpack this, get ready for some, I think, truly illuminating moments. We're going to explore a distinction that many people completely miss: the critical difference between privacy risk and cybersecurity risk.
Ah, yes. That's fundamental.
It really is. It's kind of a game changer in how we think about data and its implications.
That distinction is key, and it truly shifts an organization's perspective. It moves beyond just, securing the data technically,
Right.
to deeply understanding its broader impact on individuals. It's a much wider lens.
Okay, so to truly appreciate the NIST Privacy Framework, we need to first grasp the monumental challenge it was created to address. Let's start with just how much data is swirling around us. It's mind-boggling. Hashtag 1.1, the ubiquity of data and its hidden consequences.
Well, the modern digital landscape is characterized by an unprecedented, almost unimaginable flow of data about individuals. It's really the lifeblood driving incredible innovation.
Yeah, everything from personalized ads to medical breakthroughs.
Exactly. Hyper-personalized recommendations on your streaming services, cutting-edge advancements in medical diagnostics. This data flow generates immense economic value. It fuels entire industries.
But there's a flip side.
There is. While this rapid movement and combination of data drives progress, it creates a fundamental challenge. Individuals often don't fully grasp the potential consequences for their privacy. It's not always clear how their information might be used or inferred or combined down the line.
And it's not just individuals who are in the dark sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? What's fascinating here is that simultaneously, organizations might not realize the full extent of these consequences either.
That's a really important point. Not just the consequences for individuals or society, but for their own brands, their finances, their long-term growth prospects.
It's this classic dilemma, isn't it? Innovation versus individual autonomy. The drive for new products can inadvertently create these unforeseen privacy challenges that have really far-reaching effects.
Absolutely. Think about your daily routine for a second. How much information is generated just by your smartphone?
Oh, constantly. Location, apps.
Right. Your smart home devices, your fitness tracker, even your online shopping habits and social media interactions. It's not simply the sheer volume, though that's part of it.
It's the connections.
It's the constant movement, the combination, and the inferences made from this data that make potential risks equally vast and complex. We're talking about information collected not just from what you explicitly share.
Like filling out a form.
Exactly, but also what's inferred about you, combined with other data sets and maybe used in ways you never intended or even considered possible.
So, that feeling of being potentially surveilled by your smart TV, even if it's not technically breaching anything, that makes you think twice about how many smart devices we invite into our homes, doesn't it?
It really does. That feeling itself is a privacy consideration.
This ever-growing dilemma, this tension, it really underscores the absolute necessity for a structured, thoughtful approach to managing privacy risk, which brings us directly to NIST and their proactive solution.
Indeed. In response to this complex and rapidly evolving data challenge, NIST developed the Privacy Framework. And it's crucial to note it's a voluntary tool.
Not a mandate.
Not a mandate. It's there to help organizations identify and manage these privacy risks effectively. And it's designed to be a proactive solution, not just, cleaning up after a problem has occurred.
And you mentioned it's risk and outcome based. Let's unpack that a bit more. It's not just a checklist.
No, definitely not. It's designed to be risk and outcome based. What that means in practice is it focuses on achieving desired privacy outcomes that are tailored to an organization's specific risk profile.
Based on their business, their data, their users.
Exactly. Rather than dictating a rigid checklist of specific technologies or steps everyone must follow, this approach is fundamentally about enabling better privacy engineering practices. It supports the concept of privacy by design.
Privacy by design. We hear that term a lot. So baking it in from the start.
That's the idea, embedding privacy protection directly into the design and deployment of systems and services right from the very outset, rather than trying to bolt it on as an afterthought, which often doesn't work well.
What are the real benefits for organizations that actually embrace this?
Well, the benefits are genuinely significant. By integrating privacy by design using the framework, they can build deeper customer trust through ethical decision-making. They can fulfill current compliance obligations with various privacy laws more effectively.
So it helps with things like GDPR or CCPA, even though it's not the law itself?
It can, yes, by providing a structure. And perhaps most importantly, they can future-proof their offerings against the rapid, often unpredictable changes we see in technology and policy.
Future-proofing. That sounds key in today's world.
It really is. It means they're better prepared for new regulations or technological shifts, like the continued rise of AI or the Internet of Things, because privacy is already foundational to their operations, not a scrambling addition later on.
And a core philosophy that really stands out here is this rejection of a one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
The sheer diversity of privacy needs, coupled with those relentless technological advancements, demands a flexible tool.
You can't have the same rules for a hospital and a social media app.
Exactly. The framework is intentionally adaptable. It allows organizations of all sizes across different sectors, whether you're a small startup, a nonprofit, or a huge multinational corporation, to tailor it to their unique context and their specific data processing activities.
So the philosophy is clear. Effective privacy protection should be foundational, well-engineered, but still allow for individual choices and organizational innovation. It's about empowering responsible growth, not stifling it.
That flexibility is paramount to its broad utility. It acknowledges that privacy looks distinctly different depending on the specific data being handled, the context in which it's used, and the individuals whose data is involved. There's no single magic bullet.
Okay, so we have this wonderfully flexible, voluntary, outcome-based framework. But to truly appreciate its unique value, we need to understand that very specific and crucial distinction it makes the one that often gets overlooked. Now, here's where things get really fascinating and, honestly, often misunderstood. The NIST Privacy Framework clearly delineates between privacy risk and cybersecurity risk.
A very important line to draw.
Right. And while managing cybersecurity risk is undoubtedly a necessary component of privacy risk management, the framework emphatically states that it is not sufficient.
Not enough on its own.
Exactly. Many people conflate the two, right? They assume if the data is secure, locked down, then privacy is automatically assured. But as the framework highlights, it's not quite right.
This distinction is paramount because privacy problems can arise from events completely unrelated to cybersecurity incidents.
Okay, explain that. How?
Well, think about what cybersecurity risk usually focuses on. It's typically about the loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability of information. The CIA triad.
Keeping secret secret, data accurate, systems up.
Basically, yes. Preventing data breaches, ensuring systems aren't tampered with, making sure data is accessible when needed. Think of a classic data breach where hackers get in.
Got it. So it's privacy risk then in this context?
Privacy risk, according to the framework, is about the potential for problems experienced by individuals due to problematic data actions.
Yeah.
Even when those systems are operating exactly as intended.
Whoa, okay. Even when nothing is broken or hacked.
Precisely. Imagine that Venn diagram again. You've got a circle for cybersecurity risks and a circle for privacy risks.
Okay.
The overlapping section in the middle represents cybersecurity-related privacy events, like a data breach exposing personal information. That's where security failure causes a privacy problem.
Makes sense.
But A significant portion of privacy risk exists outside that overlap. It's in an area where cybersecurity systems are functioning perfectly, totally secure, yet individuals still face privacy harms.
That's the mind-bending part.
Oh.
Can you give us some concrete examples? The source material had some good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Consider smart meters, the ones that track household electrical use really granularly.
Okay, my utility company wants me to get one.
Right. These systems often operate perfectly, totally secure, no breaches, yet the data processing itself, the constant collection of detailed usage patterns, could lead individuals to feel surveilled.
Like someone knows exactly when I wake up, when I watch TV, when I'm away.
Exactly. The data is secure, but its collection and potential use create a significant privacy issue, a feeling of unease, intrusion. That's a privacy harm.
Okay, that's clear. What about another example?
Think about smart city technologies. Collecting data on traffic patterns, public movement, maybe environmental factors.
All for the public good, supposedly.
Often, yes. And let's assume this data is collected securely, maybe even anonymized, so it's not directly linked to specific individuals. Still, it could be used to alter or influence people's behavior.
How so?
Maybe through targeted advertising based on location patterns or subtle nudges in public policy derived from that data, things individuals might not be aware of or consent to. Again, the system is secure, but its design and intended use can lead to adverse effects for individuals or groups.
Interesting. And there was one about an online retailer?
Yes, that's a powerful one. An online retailer analyzes purchase history to personalize recommendations. Perfectly normal, right? The system operates securely, does exactly what it's designed to do.
Standard practice.
But the analysis might inadvertently reveal sensitive health information. For instance, if a pattern of purchases strongly suggests a specific medical condition or a sensitive life event, like a pregnancy loss.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This could lead to what the framework calls dignity harms, like embarrassment or feeling exposed, or even tangible harms like discrimination, if that inferred information were somehow used against them, even without a data breach. The system worked, but it still caused a privacy issue rooted in the use and inference of the data, not a security failure.
So what's the profound implication of this distinction for organizations? This perspective must fundamentally redefine the scope of their responsibility.
It absolutely does. It shifts the focus from simply preventing data breaches, which is still vital, of course,
Right.
but it broadens the focus to actively considering how all data processing activities, even the seemingly benign or innovative ones, could lead to adverse effects for individuals.
And these effects aren't just theoretical. They range from those dignity harms like embarrassment to more tangible harms like discrimination, economic loss, or even chilling effects on free speech if people are afraid to search for certain things online.
Exactly. And by connecting these potential individual problems to well-understood organizational impacts, things like non-compliance costs, revenue loss, reputational damage, the framework provides a powerful mechanism.
A way to talk to the C-suite.
Precisely. It helps senior executives bring privacy risk into parity with other critical risks in their enterprise risk portfolio, like financial risk or operational risk.
This is a massive shift, isn't it? It elevates privacy from maybe being seen as just a compliance task or an IT problem
Great, stuck in a silo somewhere.
to a strategic business imperative. This fosters a more holistic and proactive risk management culture where privacy considerations are genuinely built into strategic planning from the top down, not just tacked on to security measures as an afterthought.
It changes the entire conversation around data within the organization.
This crucial understanding, this broader view of privacy risk, forms the bedrock for how the framework is structured. It ensures that organizations can manage the full, complex spectrum of privacy risks, not just the cybersecurity slice of the pie. Okay, now that we understand the philosophical underpinnings and that really crucial distinction between privacy and cybersecurity risk, let's explore how the NIST Privacy Framework is actually put together. It's designed quite elegantly, actually. Hashtag tag 2.1, the three foundational components.
Yeah, it's got a clear structure. The NIST Privacy Framework basically has three main parts: the core, profiles, and implementation tiers.
Core, profiles, tiers. Got it.
Think of it like maybe like a well-designed building project. These three parts work together. They give you both the robust blueprint and the flexibility you need to customize it for your specific site, your specific needs.
I like that analogy. So the core in this building metaphor is like the fundamental architectural principles and the standard components, the beams, the wiring standards.
Something like that, yeah. It provides the fundamental activities and, importantly, a common language for everyone involved in the organization, from the CEO deciding on the project scope down to the individual workers on site.
Okay. And then the profiles. That's like the specific blueprint for my building.
Exactly. Profiles let you customize that general blueprint for your specific organizational needs and goals. You choose which elements of the core are most important for your particular structure.
And finally, the implementation tiers. That sounds like
Yeah.
maybe the building code inspection, assessing the quality.
Sort of, yeah. They assess the maturity and capability of how well that building is constructed and maintained. They tell you how sophisticated your approach is, how robust your processes are.
That makes a lot of sense. Core is the common language and activities. Profiles customize it. Tiers measure maturity.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The core offers that universal language for discussing privacy activities and desired outcomes. Profiles allow organizations to truly customize the framework, define priorities, and crucially, identify gaps between where they are now and where they want to be.
Finding the weak spots in the current structure.
Exactly. And the implementation tiers serve as that maturity scale, providing a reference point for an organization's processes and resources in managing privacy risk, ranging from, just reacting when something breaks to being highly adaptive and proactive.
This structure really makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's start our deep dive into the very heart of the framework, the core.
Okay, the core. This is the central element of the privacy framework. It serves as a non-prescriptive foundational tool for managing privacy risk.
Non-prescriptive again. That seems really important.
It is. It's explicitly designed to foster dialogue, real conversation about privacy protection activities and the desired outcomes. And that dialogue needs to happen across the board, from the executive suite making strategic decisions all the way down to daily operations and individual employees on the ground.
So it's definitely not a rigid checklist that you just tick off and say, we're done, right? That's really important to emphasize.
Absolutely not. It's not a checklist. Think of it more like a comprehensive menu or a catalog of potential outcomes and activities. An organization selects and prioritizes from this menu based on what's most relevant to its unique mission, its business needs, its risk tolerance.
So you pick what applies to you.
Exactly. This inherent flexibility allows it to be tailored to any organization, regardless of size, sector, or its specific role in the complex data processing ecosystem. Whether you're handling employee data, customer data, sensitive research data, the core provides relevant building blocks.
And how is it structured? You mentioned hierarchy.
Right. The core is structured hierarchically. It starts with 5 high-level functions. We'll get into those. These are then broken down into more specific categories, and those categories are further broken down into discrete subcategories.
So it goes from broad concepts down to specific actions.
Precisely. It offers a granular yet organized approach that hopefully everyone in the organization can understand and use. That hierarchical structure really helps break down what could be a very complex topic into manageable parts. Okay, let's unpack each of these 5 critical functions. And let's keep in mind how they've evolved, especially in the most recent version 1.1 draft, because that shows how NIST is keeping this framework current.
Okay, these 5 functions, they're designed to be performed concurrently and continuously. It's not like you do step 1, then step 2.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle, yeah. Helping to build a risk-aware and operational culture within an organization. It's a living, breathing process, not a static document you file away. And yes, the V1.1 initial public draft, which went out for public comment in early 2025, really reflects NIST's commitment to evolving the framework. A final version is expected soon. First up is Identify PA. The purpose of this function is to develop a deep organizational understanding of privacy risk. It's essentially about getting your bearings in your data landscape.
Asking the basic questions. What data do we actually have? Where does it live? Where does it go? And what are the risks associated with it?
Exactly. You need that baseline understanding. So what kind of key activities help an organization truly identify its data landscape under this function?
Well, some key activities include a robust inventory and mapping process. This means inventorying all the data processed by systems and services, identifying the categories of individuals whose data is processed, employees, customers, etc., and crucially, mapping the data flow through its entire life cycle.
From cradle to grave, essentially.
Yep.
Collection, use, sharing, storage, deletion.
Precisely. Organizations also need to understand their business environment. That means understanding their specific role in the data processing ecosystem. Are they a controller, a processor, both? and what their core mission priorities are.
And the risk part.
And of course, risk assessment. Conducting thorough assessments to identify potential problematic data actions, those things that could cause harm, and understanding their potential impacts on individuals and on the organization itself.
What's the game-changing insight here? I mean, lots of organizations think they know their data, right?
They do. But Identify P forces a level of granularity in data mapping that often uncovers significant blind spots. It reveals privacy risks lurking in corners they never even considered, maybe in legacy systems or shadow IT or unexpected third-party integrations. It's often a real foundational wake-up call.
And we saw an interesting evolution in V1.1 here too, didn't we? Something about AI.
Yes, that's right. NIST made a strategic choice in V1.1 to remove some specific subcategories related to AI bias from the core itself. The thinking was to keep the core technology neutral.
So it applies broadly now and in the future.
Exactly. And then provide that specialized guidance on AI risks in other documents like the AI Risk Management Framework or specific profiles. It keeps the core framework stable while allowing specialized guidance to evolve more quickly.
Smart. So Identify P at its heart is about knowing exactly what data you collect, where it goes throughout its entire journey, and what the inherent risks are right from the very start. It's not just a technical exercise, it's deeply strategic.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It lays the foundation for everything else. Next is Govern P. This function is truly foundational for establishing a privacy-aware culture. It's about developing and implementing the organizational governance structure.
The rules of the road, the accountability.
Exactly. Making sure privacy risk is considered in all management priorities, right from the very top down. It embeds privacy into the organizational DNA.
So this is where leadership really sets the tone and builds the backbone of privacy in the organization. What are some of the key activities here?
Key activities include establishing clear governance policies. This means formally articulating the organization's privacy values and its specific policies for handling data.
Writing it down, making it official.
Yes. Then there's defining a clear risk management strategy for privacy. And interestingly, in V1.1, this was expanded to include new subcategories on things like defining the organization's risk appetite for privacy, how risk information will be communicated internally, and even acknowledging potential positive risks or opportunities associated with innovative but responsible data use.
Interesting. Not just focusing on the negative. And training.
Absolutely. Robust awareness and training programs are essential, making sure the entire workforce and any relevant third parties handling data on their behalf receive proper education and understand their specific privacy responsibilities.
Now, here's where the V1.1 update showed a pretty profound philosophical shift, right? This function got a major upgrade.
It really did. GovernTel was significantly enhanced. They introduced entirely new categories like oversight, formal mechanisms for overseeing the privacy program, and specifically roles, responsibilities, and authorities, making it crystal clear who is accountable for what.
Defining ownership.
Yes. And what's really crucial, as you hinted earlier, that whole idea of managing third-party data risks, data processing ecosystem risk management, which was previously just a category under Identify in V1.0.
Just spotting the risk.
Right. It was dramatically moved and expanded into this govern function in V1.1.
So it's not just about seeing the risk anymore, it's about actively governing it.
Precisely. This isn't just refiling paperwork. It's a profound statement. It signals a move from merely identifying third-party risks to actively governing and managing them as a core organizational responsibility.
Wow. And the new categories for oversight and roles.
They emphasize that privacy risk is a matter of top-down accountability. It underscores that leadership must not only understand risks, but also be directly responsible for allocating resources, setting the strategic direction, and ensuring the program is effective across the entire enterprise.
So this fundamentally integrates privacy into the core governance of an organization.
Yeah.
Moves it from what might have been a peripheral concern, maybe handled by legal or IT,
Off to the side somewhere.
to a central component of enterprise-level decision-making. That's a huge shift in focus and prioritization. It really puts privacy on the map at the highest levels.
It absolutely does. It recognizes privacy as integral to good governance. Okay, moving on to Control P. This function is concerned with developing and implementing the activities that enable organizations and individuals to manage data with sufficient granularity to address privacy risks.
So this is where the rubber meets the road, putting the practical measures in place.
You could say that, yeah. It's about enabling effective management of data processing.
So it's about the practical measures that give both the organization and the individual agency over the data. What are the key activities that fall under this function?
They include establishing clear data processing policies. These are the rules for authorizing and revoking data processing permissions, who gets to do what with the data, and when.
Access controls and permissions, basically.
Yes, but broader than just access. Also managing the purpose of processing. Then there's data processing management, which involves managing the entire data lifecycle from collection all the way through to secure destruction or de-identification. V1.1 expanded this too, adding new subcategories on managing granular permissions and understanding the different values data might hold at different stages.
And there was something about disassociated processing. Sounds technical.
It involves technical measures, yes.
Yeah.
Disassociated processing emphasizes using techniques like de-identification, pseudonymization, aggregation, and other privacy-enhancing technologies like privacy-preserving cryptography.
The goal being.
The goal is to limit the observability and linkability of data back to specific individuals, reducing the risk by making the data less identifiable. The V1.1 text even refined this to include concepts like preventing singling out individuals and managing risks from derived attribute values, information inferred about someone.
So the impact here is that this function is all about putting the practical and technical controls in place. It empowers organizations to handle data responsibly, and it can also empower individuals to manage their data more effectively, thereby reducing overall privacy risk. It's where privacy by design really starts to materialize in the tech stack and processes.
Exactly. It translates policy into practice. Next, Communicate P. This function focuses squarely on transparency and dialogue. Its purpose is to enable both organizations and individuals to have a reliable, clear understanding of how data is processed and what the associated privacy risks are.
This sounds absolutely vital for building and maintaining trust in any digital interaction.
Yeah.
You can't trust what you don't understand.
Precisely. Trust is built on transparency.
So what are the key activities here? How does an organization do communication well?
Key activities include creating clear communication policies and procedures. This outlines how an organization will engage with individuals about privacy, the methods, the timing, the language used.
Setting the standard for openness.
Right. Then there's data processing awareness. This involves establishing mechanisms for communicating data processing practices effectively. Think clear, easily understandable privacy notices, not 50 pages of legalese, but also things like privacy dashboards, reports, or just-in-time notifications.
Making it accessible and timely.
Yes. And finally, it's about providing robust mechanisms for individuals to give feedback, ask questions, make requests, like accessing or deleting their data, and receive notifications about privacy events, including, importantly, data breaches.
That two-way street is crucial, listening as well as talking.
Absolutely. It's about fostering an open and accountable relationship.
So the real upshot here is that it's all about clear, open, and honest communication. This isn't just a nice to have. It's absolutely fundamental to building and maintaining trust through transparency in our increasingly complex digital age. Without it, everything else feels suspect.
It really underpins the entire relationship between an organization and the individuals whose data it handles. Okay, the fifth and final function of the core is Protect SEPI. This is where privacy risk management and cybersecurity risk management directly overlap most clearly.
Right, the part of the Venn diagram where the circles meet.
Exactly. It involves developing and implementing appropriate data processing safeguards specifically to prevent cybersecurity-related privacy events, like data breaches caused by hacking, malware, or unauthorized access.
This is often what many people initially think of when they consider privacy protection, building the digital walls, keeping the bad guys out. What are the core activities in this critical area?
Key activities here include establishing robust data protection policies that specifically address security safeguards, implementing strong identity and access control mechanisms, ensuring only authorized people can access systems and data, and only the data they need. The category name actually shifted slightly in V1.1 from PRACP to PRAAP, reflecting alignment with CSF 2.0.
Authentication and authorization.
Precisely. And ensuring comprehensive data security for both data at rest, stored data, and data in transit, data moving across networks, encryption, vulnerability management, secure configurations, all the cybersecurity fundamentals.
And the V1.1 update saw some significant changes here too, didn't it? Aligning more closely with the Cybersecurity Framework update, CSF 2.0.
Yes, that alignment was a key driver for the V1.1 update. Some older categories from V1.0, like maintenance, PRMAP, and protective technology, PRPTP, were actually withdrawn from the Privacy Framework core.
Really? Why?
Better align with the structure of CSF 2.0. Instead, new categories were introduced into the Privacy Framework's Protect P function that mirror CSF 2.0, such as Platform Security, PRPSP, and Technology Infrastructure Resilience, PRIRP.
So it reflects the latest thinking in cybersecurity best practices.
Exactly. It ensures the two frameworks speak the same language in this area of overlap.
Okay, so the impact is that this function provides the essential technical defenses. It's about preventing those security failures that could compromise privacy, directly addressing that crucial overlapping part of the risk landscape. It's the robust foundation for preventing many common forms of privacy harm.
It is. It's the necessary, though not sufficient, security layer.
So the core gives us this comprehensive common language and set of activities. But how do you take this universal blueprint and truly tailor it to your unique organizational needs? And then how do you measure your progress along that path? That's where profiles and tiers come in, offering that crucial customization and maturity assessment. Okay, we've explored the core, the very heart of the framework, which gives us that common language. Now let's talk about how an organization makes this framework truly their own, custom fit for their specific environment.
That's the profiles, right?
Exactly. Profiles are the component that enables an organization to truly customize the non-prescriptive core to its unique needs. Think of the core as this vast library of potential privacy, best practices, and outcomes.
Okay, a huge library. A profile is like your curated reading list from that library. It's specifically designed for your organization's goals, your risks, your challenges.
That makes perfect sense. So a profile isn't just about picking things at random. It's a strategic selection, right? Based on what actually matters to you.
Precisely. A profile is a selection of specific functions, categories, and maybe even down to the subcategories from the core that an organization has strategically prioritized. And this prioritization is based on critical factors like its business objectives, its specific role in the broader data processing ecosystem. Are you collecting data directly, just processing it for someone else? And, most importantly, the privacy needs and potential impacts on the individuals it affects.
Well, it helps you focus your efforts.
Absolutely. Profiles are used to articulate an organization's current privacy posture. So where it stands today, what outcomes it's currently achieving, and then to define its desired future state, where it aims to be in terms of privacy outcomes. The target state.
And I imagine this isn't just a static document you create once. It's a dynamic tool for continuous improvement, right?
Exactly. The true power of profiles is realized through conducting a DAP analysis.
Comparing the now versus the where we want to be.
Right. Comparing a current profile, which represents the organization's existing activities and outcomes, with a target profile, which outlines its desired privacy outcomes. The differences identified between these two states, the gaps, form the basis of a prioritized action plan.
So you know exactly where to focus your resources.
Precisely. It helps pinpoint specific improvement opportunities and determine the necessary resources, whether that's staffing, funding, new technology, training, to reach that target state cost-effectively. It transforms abstract goals like improve privacy into concrete, actionable steps.
Beyond internal planning, profiles also sound like an incredibly powerful communication tool. How does that work?
They absolutely are. Profiles serve as a crucial communication tool, both within an organization helping different departments like IT, legal, and product development get on the same page, and with external stakeholders.
Like vendors or partners?
Exactly. For example, a data collecting organization, maybe a retailer, can use its target profile to clearly communicate its privacy requirements to a service provider, like a cloud storage company or a marketing analytics firm it wants to hire.
Here's our standard.
This is what we expect. And in turn, that service provider can use its own profile to demonstrate how its practices align with those contractual obligations and the retailer's expectations. This common language is especially valuable in complex data processing ecosystems.
Where data flows through multiple hands.
Right, and particularly with international data transfers, where different jurisdictions might have varying legal requirements. It provides a common ground. Furthermore, you can even have community profiles developed for shared industry needs, allowing multiple organizations in a sector, like healthcare or finance, to align on common privacy priorities.
Fostering a sense of collective responsibility. That's powerful.
It really is.
So this is truly your way to make the framework deeply personal and actionable for your specific context. It moves it from abstract guidance to a concrete strategic plan tailored just for you. Okay, so once you have your custom roadmap in your target profile, how do you assess your journey? How do you measure your progress along that crucial path? That's the tiers.
That's right, the implementation tiers, or simply tiers. These provide a dynamic point of reference for an organization's maturity in managing privacy risk. They essentially describe the rigor of its privacy processes and the sufficiency of its resources in addressing those risks.
So it's kind of like a rating scale for how sophisticated and integrated your privacy approach is within the organization.
Pretty much, yeah. The tiers reflect a progression. They go from informal, maybe ad hoc, reactive responses up to a more agile, risk-informed, and continuously improving approaches. They help guide both internal decision-making, where do we need to improve, and external communication about an organization's privacy program. How seriously do we take
There are
this?
4 tiers, right? Can you quickly outline them?
Sure. The framework outlines 4 distinct tiers. Tier 1, partial. This represents ad hoc reactive approaches. Privacy practices might be inconsistent, poorly understood. Maybe compliance is driven by penalties rather than proactive management. Tier 2, risk-informed. Here, management improves privacy practices. Processes might exist, but they might not be consistently applied across the entire organization. There's awareness of risk, but maybe resource constraints limit consistent implementation. Tier 3, repeatable. This indicates formalized, consistently applied, and regularly updated processes. At this level, privacy is generally well understood, integrated into operations, and there's a formal risk management process. And finally, Tier 4, adaptive. This signifies a proactive, continuously improving program. The organization anticipates risks, adapts quickly, and effectively incorporates lessons learned from past privacy events, internal or external. This is kind of the gold standard of privacy maturity.
Adaptive sounds like where everyone should aim, but I imagine this isn't a ladder every organization must climb all the way to tier 4, right? It's more of a flexible benchmark based on their actual risk.
That's a really crucial caveat, yes. The tiers are not a one-size-fits-all maturity model that every organization must progress through sequentially to the highest level. That would defeat the purpose of flexibility.
So a small nonprofit probably doesn't need the same level of rigor as a global tech giant.
Exactly. The tiers offer a flexible benchmark for self-assessment. An organization should consider moving to a higher tier only when its current processes and resources are demonstrably insufficient to manage its privacy risks effectively and achieve its target profile goals. Tier selection is a strategic decision.
What informs that decision?
It's deeply informed by the target profile an organization sets. What are we trying to achieve? Its broader enterprise risk management practices. How does privacy fit in overall? Its relationships within the data processing ecosystem. What are our partners' expectations? And the composition and training of its workforce. It's about finding the right tier for their specific risk environment and business objectives. For some, tier 2 or 3 might be perfectly adequate and sustainable.
That makes sense. And how do we define what makes each tier distinct? Beyond just a brief description, what are the components?
Each tier is defined by 4 key elements, which provide a comprehensive view of an organization's capabilities. 1. Privacy risk management process. This describes the formality and prioritization of privacy practices, going from informal and reactive up to formalized, prioritized, and continuously improved. 2. Integrated privacy risk management program. This focuses on the level of organizational awareness and the degree to which privacy is integrated into the broader enterprise risk management portfolio, ensuring it's not operating in a silo. 3. Data processing ecosystem relationships. This assesses how well an organization understands its role, its dependencies, and its dependence in the larger data processing ecosystem, basically. How well it manages privacy across its supply chain and partnerships. 4. And workforce. This element addresses the privacy knowledge, training, and assigned responsibilities of personnel at all levels, ensuring everyone understands their role in protecting privacy.
Okay, so those 4 elements give you a more granular way to assess where you fall on the tier scale. The relationship between profiles and tiers sounds very strategic then, almost like a feedback loop. Define the goal, assess the capability.
It absolutely is. It's a very dynamic relationship. The development of a target profile defines the organization's strategic privacy goals, what it aims to achieve in terms of specific privacy outcomes from the core. The selection of a tier, in turn, assesses and communicates the organizational capabilities, the necessary processes and resources required to actually achieve those goals sustainably.
So it connects the what with the how well.
Exactly. This connection transforms the framework into a powerful tool for strategic planning and, crucially, resource allocation.
So the ultimate impact here is that by determining what it wants to achieve with its target profile and then assessing its capacity to actually do so using the tiers, an organization can make informed, risk-based decisions about where to invest time, money, and effort to improve its privacy program. It truly helps move privacy from being just a compliance-driven activity to a core business strategy. That's a profound shift in thinking.
It truly empowers organizations to prioritize investments where they will have the most impact on managing risk effectively and building that essential customer trust.
This robust internal structure, core, profiles, tiers, isn't an island, though. It's meticulously designed to connect with other vital NIST frameworks, creating a truly holistic approach to risk management across an entire enterprise. Okay, we've seen how the privacy framework provides this powerful internal structure for managing privacy risks. But you mentioned it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's designed to work seamlessly, or at least harmoniously, with other established NIST frameworks, creating a more cohesive approach to enterprise risk overall. Hashtag 4.1, the symbiotic relationship with the Cybersecurity Framework, CSF.
That's a crucial point, yes. The NIST Privacy Framework was intentionally developed with a structure that mirrors, in many ways, the structure of the well-known Cybersecurity Framework, or CSF. This was done to facilitate the combined synergistic use of both tools.
So it wasn't accidental that they look similar. That was a deliberate design choice to foster collaboration.
Absolutely deliberate and strategic.
That must be a huge win for organizational efficiency, right? Getting the privacy folks and the security folks talking the same language.
It absolutely is. It provides that common language and a consistent approach to risk management across both domains, which historically have sometimes operated in separate silos. This relationship is particularly evident, as we discussed, in the Privacy Framework's Protect B function.
Which focuses on preventing cybersecurity-related privacy events.
Exactly. That's the direct overlap between the two fields where security failures, like breaches, can directly lead to privacy harms.
And the V1.1 update to the privacy framework seems to reinforce this alignment even more deeply, especially with the recent release of CSF 2.0.
It certainly does. The evolution of the privacy framework has been directly influenced by updates to its cybersecurity counterpart. The release of CSF 2.0, which was a significant update itself, prompted a targeted update to the privacy framework to version 1.1 with a stated goal of maintaining that close alignment.
Can you give an example of that alignment?
Sure. The big one is the new govern function introduced in CSF 2.0. This directly led to the significant restructuring and expansion of the privacy framework's own govern P function to maintain parity and ensure governance was treated consistently across both security and privacy risk management.
So they evolve together.
They do. This structural alignment is a strategic effort by NIST to encourage organizations to manage privacy and cybersecurity risks as interconnected parts of a unified enterprise risk management program, rather than as separate initiatives that often compete for limited resources and attention.
That makes perfect sense. And for organizations actually trying to implement this integrated approach, are there practical tools to help them bridge the two frameworks?
Yes, very much so. Key resources called crosswalks are developed by NIST. These provide explicit mappings showing how specific functions, categories, and subcategories in one framework relate to or support activities in the other.
Like a translation guide between the two.
Essentially, yes. While these existed for the previous versions, PF v1.0 and CSF 1.1, new ones will be developed for PF v1.1 and CSF 2.0. These crosswalks act as practical bridges for integrated management, helping organizations understand precisely how activities in, say, the cybersecurity framework contribute to achieving privacy outcomes outlined in the privacy framework, and vice versa.
So what this ultimately translates to is helping organizations avoid that siloed approach to risk. It allows them to make more holistic, informed decisions about resource allocation across both security and privacy, leading to a much more efficient and effective overall risk posture for the entire organization.
It encourages a unified front against risk. Hashtag 4.2, navigating the AI frontier with the AI Risk Management Framework, AI RMF.
Okay, so beyond cybersecurity, another huge area of evolving risk is artificial intelligence, AI. The rapid proliferation of AI has introduced a whole new set of complex privacy challenges. How does the privacy framework handle this fast-moving target?
That's a great question, and NIST is definitely focused on it. The privacy framework has specifically evolved to address AI risks. In fact, the V1.1 initial public draft includes a new section explicitly dedicated to AI and privacy risk management.
So they're not ignoring it.
Far from it. It's a clear testament to the framework's forward-looking and adaptable design.
And AI can introduce privacy risks in ways that are maybe different or more subtle than traditional data processing, right? It's not just about the data going in, but what the AI does with it or infers from it.
Yeah. Indeed. AI systems can create privacy risks through various means. For instance, they might be trained on vast data sets collected without proper consent or clear purpose limitation. They could have inadequate privacy safeguards embedded in their complex algorithms, or they might inadvertently reveal personal information through inference attacks, re-identification, or even through the propagation of harmful biases learned from the training data.
That's where the other NIST framework comes in, the AI
Mm,
RMF.
exactly. That's where the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, or AI RMF, comes in. It's specifically designed to help organizations manage these unique AI risks and build trustworthy AI systems. And critically, the Privacy Framework and the AI RMF are intended to be used in conjunction. They complement each other perfectly.
Okay, so they work together. Can you give us a concrete example of how that might work in practice?
Certainly. Think back to the Privacy Framework's expanded Govern P function in V1.1, that new category on roles, responsibilities, and authorities, GVRP. That can be leveraged to establish clear accountability for privacy risks, specifically within an AI development team or deployment workforce.
So making sure someone is actually responsible for the privacy implications of the AI.
Right. Similarly, the Control P function, managing data, and the Communicate P function, transparency, of the Privacy Framework can be used to implement necessary technical measures, like robust de-identification techniques for AI training data, and provide clear mechanisms for user control and transparency over how their data is used in AI systems. These are crucial for consent and building trust in AI.
This sounds like a very strategic, multi-layered approach from NIST, keeping the core broad, but adding specific tools for new tech.
It really is quite sophisticated. This relationship demonstrates NIST's approach. The privacy framework maintains that technology-neutral core. Remember how they removed that AI-specific subcategory?
Right, to ensure broad applicability.
Exactly. Ensuring its broad applicability and longevity, preventing it from quickly becoming outdated as AI evolves. Meanwhile, the AI RMF, along with other dedicated resources NIST, is developing like a specific profile for generative AI, provides the necessary in-depth guidance for specific technologies like AI, where the risks are unique and evolving so rapidly.
The genius of this modular strategy, it seems, is that it allows NIST to address the unique and rapidly changing risks of new technologies without requiring frequent fundamental revisions to its core guidance. It keeps the foundation strong while building specialized agile tools for specific challenges. That's incredibly smart planning.
It allows for both stability and adaptability, which is essential in this space. Hashtag 4.3 broader NIST interoperability.
So it connects well with the Cybersecurity Framework and the AI Risk Management Framework.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it's part of an even larger ecosystem of NIST publications.
Yes, absolutely. Beyond the CSF and the AIRMF, the Privacy Framework is part of a larger interconnected ecosystem of NIST guidance documents. It's designed to work in concert with numerous other NIST publications, creating a truly comprehensive and synergistic approach to risk management across various domains relevant to organizations.
So it's not just these two major frameworks, but a whole suite of integrated tools and guidance. Can you give some examples?
Sure. For example, the framework's privacy risk assessment practices, detailed under the Identify Or function, specifically RDRAP, are strongly supported and further detailed by other dedicated NIST guidance, such as the NIST Privacy Risk Assessment Methodology, known as PRAM, NIST Internal Report 8062.
So if you want a deep dive on how to do a privacy risk assessment, there's another doc for that.
Exactly. Similarly, the framework's guidance on implementing controls, like in Control P and Protect P, is aligned with and references guidance from foundational documents like NIST Special Publication SP 853. That's the big catalog of security and privacy controls, widely used especially in the federal space, but also beyond.
Right, 853 is a cornerstone.
It is. And also SP 837, which outlines the broader risk management framework RMF for information systems and organizations. These are long-standing, widely adopted standards that many organizations already use.
So the broader implication here is that these interconnections create this robust and mutually reinforcing suite of tools. It allows organizations to leverage their existing investment in understanding and implementing NIST guidance, maybe they already use the CSF or 853, to build and strengthen their privacy programs more efficiently. It creates a powerful synergistic effect rather than forcing them to reinvent the wheel for privacy.
It's all about getting maximum value from a consistent, integrated approach to managing all types of enterprise risk, security, privacy, AI, operational, using a common foundation and language where possible.
Okay. Understanding the architecture and these critical connections is one thing, but the big question remains, How does an organization actually put this into practice? Let's move to the practical applications and implementation strategies. How do you get started? We've covered a lot of ground on the structure, the philosophy, the connections of the NIST Privacy Framework. Now let's turn our attention to how organizations actually roll up their sleeves and implement this powerful tool. It can feel like a big undertaking, so, where do they even start? Hashtag 5.1, the ready, set, go model for program development.
Yeah, building or improving a privacy program can sometimes feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, especially with something as comprehensive as this framework. But fortunately, the privacy framework offers a clear, iterative roadmap through a simple yet powerful three-phase model. Ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go. I like it. Sounds actionable.
It's designed to be pragmatic and actionable, making the whole process feel less daunting, hopefully.
Okay, that sounds like a lifeline for organizations. Walk us through these phases. How does an organization begin this journey? What's ready?
The ready phase is all about foundational understanding, getting prepared. In this phase, an organization uses the identify P and govern P functions of the core to truly comprehend its mission environment, its legal and regulatory obligations, what laws apply, and its overall risk tolerance. How much risk are we willing to accept?
So, understanding the context first.
Exactly. A crucial activity here is creating that comprehensive data map we talked about, identifying all the data processing activities across the organization, from collection to storage to sharing to deletion. Following this, a thorough privacy risk assessment is conducted using Identify P guidance, like IDRAP, to understand how these activities could potentially impact individuals and the organization itself.
So this phase builds that strong, informed foundation, knowing your risks before you jump into solutions.
Precisely. It's about identifying and understanding your privacy risks before any major action is taken, preventing costly missteps or ineffective solutions later on.
That makes perfect sense. You can't plan a journey until you know where you are and what the terrain looks like. So once an organization is ready, what's the next step? What's set?
Next is the set phase. This is where you translate that deep understanding gained in the ready phase into a strategic plan. Here, an organization creates its current profile, documenting its existing privacy outcomes based on its assessment.
Here's where we are today.
Right. And then, critically, it defines its target profile, which outlines its desired future state. Here's where we want our privacy program to be.
Setting the goals.
Exactly. The real magic happens, as we discussed earlier, when comparing these two profiles. That comparison clearly reveals the specific gaps that need to be addressed. The organization then develops a prioritized action plan to close these gaps.
Prioritize being the key word, I imagine. You can't fix everything at once.
Definitely not. The plan needs to carefully consider the organization's mission goals, the costs involved in different fixes, and the potential benefits or risk reduction expected. It also involves determining the required resources, funding, personnel, maybe new technology, which in turn informs the selection of an appropriate implementation tier to indicate the desired maturity level for specific areas of its program.
So the set phase is really about creating that detailed, prioritized roadmap for improvement. Okay, once you have that robust plan, it's time to act. That must be the go phase.
Exactly. That's the go phase. This is all about implementation and execution. With the action plan developed in the set phase, the organization prioritizes its efforts and starts adjusting its current practices, implementing new controls, updating policies, conducting training, whatever the plan calls for to achieve the outcomes defined in the target profile.
And it doesn't stop there, right? You mentioned it's iterative.
Critically important point. This model is designed for continuous improvement. Organizations don't just finish the go phase and declare victory. They can, and absolutely should, loop back to the ready phase periodically, or whenever there's a significant change, like a new system, new regulation, or a privacy incident.
To reassess risks and adapt.
Exactly. Reassess their risks, update their understanding, refine their target profile, and adapt their programs in response to changing environments or lessons learned. It's never a one-and-done process. It's an ongoing commitment to responsible data stewardship and continuous improvement.
The power here, it seems, is that it's a pragmatic, iterative, step-by-step approach. It breaks down the potentially overwhelming task of building or improving a privacy program into manageable phases. It sounds like a true roadmap for organizations trying to navigate this incredibly complex space effectively.
It aims to provide that structure and make it achievable.
Now, another key practical application the framework emphasizes is privacy by design. We touched on this earlier. The framework strongly advocates for this proactive approach, right?
Yes, very strongly. It urges organizations to account for privacy right from the beginning as they design and deploy new systems, products, and services rather than treating it as an afterthought or something to fix later.
Which contrasts sharply with that reactive bolt-on approach we so often see, where privacy considerations are maybe retrofitted onto existing systems, usually at great expense and often with pretty limited effectiveness.
Precisely. That reactive approach, where privacy controls are bolted on later, is almost always much more costly, far less effective, and sometimes technically impossible without major rework or re-architecting. It's just inefficient and risky.
So how does the framework help organizations actually achieve privacy by design? How do you integrate it systematically?
The framework recommends aligning an organization's target profile, those desired privacy outcomes you defined in the set phase, with the various phases of the organization's standard system development lifecycle, or SDLC.
The SDLC, that's the process companies use to build software or systems, right? Planning, design, build, test, deploy, maintain.
Exactly. Whatever specific SDLC methodology an organization uses, agile, waterfall, DevOps. The idea is to embed privacy considerations into each phase.
Can you illustrate how this alignment works in practice?
Yeah.
Can we walk through an example of, say, a new mobile app being developed?
Sure. During the initial planning phase of the new app, the prioritized privacy outcomes from the organization's target profile, like data minimization, purpose limitation, user control, would be directly translated into specific, measurable privacy requirements for the app. For instance, the app must only collect location data when actively used by the user and only for feature X.
Making it concrete from the start.
Yes. Then, in the design phase, the app architects and developers would need to validate that these requirements are actually built into the app's architecture and align with the organization's overall risk tolerance. For example, if the app handles sensitive user data, the design might mandate end-to-end encryption, secure coding practices specific to privacy, and robust access controls within the app and its backend.
Building the safeguards in.
Right. Then, during development and testing, specific tests would be run to verify these privacy features work as intended. And finally, during deployment and operation maintenance, the target profile serves as an internal checklist or baseline to verify that all privacy capabilities are indeed implemented correctly, monitored, and continuously maintained or updated as needed throughout the app's lifecycle.
That integration ensures that privacy becomes a continuous consideration throughout a system's life, not just a one-time sign-off before launch or checkbox exercise.
Yeah.
And I guess it also intimately connects to the data lifecycle itself within that system.
Absolutely. The framework stresses aligning the data lifecycle, the stages of data collection, processing, use, sharing, retention, and disposal within that specific app or system with the overall SDLC. By deeply understanding how data is handled at every stage of a system's development and operation, organizations can much better identify potential privacy risks specific to that system and select the appropriate technical, administrative, and physical controls to mitigate them effectively right from the start.
It's about baking privacy in, layer by layer, from the ground up.
That's the goal.
The profound takeaway here seems to be that privacy becomes a continuous consideration, deeply embedded into every aspect of product and service development and operation, rather than a frantic scramble to fix issues after they arise, potentially after trust has already been damaged. It saves time, money, and most importantly, protects individuals and builds that crucial trust.
It's a much more sustainable and ethical approach in the long run. Hashtag 5.3, managing the data processing ecosystem.
Okay, so we've talked about internal processes and system design, but the digital world we inhabit is rarely just one organization, is it? It's a complex data processing ecosystem.
That's absolutely right. It's full of interconnected relationships among all sorts of entities. Device manufacturers, software developers, cloud service providers, data brokers, business partners, advertisers, researchers, even civil society organizations. Data flows between them constantly.
And an organization's specific role within this ecosystem, are they the one collecting the data, just storing it, analyzing it? That must significantly influence their legal obligations and their practical approach to managing privacy risk, sometimes in surprising ways.
It absolutely does. Your responsibilities can change dramatically depending on whether you're acting as a data controller, a data processor, or maybe even both in different contexts. It also depends heavily on your contractual relationships with partners.
This sounds like a potential minefield of issues if not managed correctly, especially with so many third parties involved in handling data. How does the privacy framework help organizations navigate this complex web?
The privacy framework provides that crucial common language we keep mentioning, which is invaluable for managing these inherently complex relationships.
How so? Can you give an example?
Well, for instance, an organization, let's say a healthcare provider, using a third-party telehealth platform, can use its own target profile to clearly communicate its stringent privacy requirements to that external platform provider.
Here are the specific privacy outcomes from the NIST framework we need you to achieve when handling our patient data.
Exactly. It moves beyond vague contractual clauses to specific, actionable outcomes based on a recognized framework. The telehealth platform provider, in turn, can use its own profile, maybe a current profile showing its capabilities, or a target profile showing its commitments to demonstrate that its practices are in line with its contractual obligations and the healthcare provider's expectations.
So it facilitates due diligence.
Precisely. This use of profiles is a crucial mechanism for vendor due diligence and ongoing third-party risk management. By requiring vendors or partners to align with the framework, or at least map their controls to it, an organization can make far more informed buying decisions or partnership choices. They can get better assurance that a new product or service meets their privacy requirements and values before it is integrated into their enterprise and potentially creates new unforeseen risks.
And this must be incredibly valuable when data processing crosses international borders, given the patchwork of different privacy laws around the world.
Absolutely critical. This practice is especially valuable when data processing crosses national boundaries. Using the framework provides a structured, internationally recognized approach to communicating and verifying privacy requirements, helping to standardize expectations across different legal and cultural contexts. It reduces uncertainty and helps ensure a baseline level of protection and accountability, even when specific laws differ between jurisdictions. It makes managing complex global data flows more transparent and accountable.
So the core insight here is that it's really about extending privacy accountability and consistent management far beyond your own organizational walls. It's about fostering a robust network of trust and shared responsibility throughout the entire data processing chain, from the initial collection right through the final deletion, wherever that data may travel.
It truly creates a shared understanding and a common goal responsible data handling, which is absolutely vital for effective ecosystem governance and for building collective trust in the digital economy as a whole.
Okay, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from the core philosophy to its structure, its connections, and its practical application. Now, let's zoom out one last time and look at the framework's overarching impact, maybe touch on some challenges, and consider what its future holds. We've journeyed deep into the NIST Privacy Framework today, examining its structure, its key concepts like profiles and tiers, and its practical applications like ready, set, go. Now let's try to pull it all together and consider its overarching impact and the critical insights it really offers organizations and individuals navigating this data-drenched world.
When you step back, the NIST Privacy Framework really stands out as a unique and powerful tool, largely due to its foundational philosophies. These truly set it apart in the landscape of privacy guidance available today.
Can you highlight those core tenets for us again? If someone remembers only a few things about its fundamental design, what should they be?
Okay, I'd say firstly, its core design is voluntary, risk-based, and outcome-oriented. This combination makes it incredibly flexible and adaptable. It's usable by organizations of all sizes, across all sectors, and it effectively transcends the limitations of specific laws, specific technologies, or specific jurisdictions.
So it's not tied to just one regulation or one industry.
Exactly. It doesn't tell you precisely how to achieve privacy in every single situation, but rather what kinds of privacy outcomes you should strive for based on your own risk assessment and your context. This flexibility is arguably its greatest superpower.
And then there's that crucial distinction we spent time on earlier, the one between privacy and cybersecurity. That seems fundamental too.
Absolutely fundamental. A central tenet is that privacy is distinct from cybersecurity. By defining privacy risk in terms of problems experienced by individuals, even those problems arising from systems operating exactly as they were intended, it shifts the focus. It moves beyond purely technical security measures.
Which are still vital.
Still vital, yes, but it broadens the view to a more holistic consideration of the human and societal impacts of data processing. This is a fundamental reframing of the problem that acknowledges the full spectrum of potential privacy harms, not just data breaches caused by security failures.
Which naturally leads to its strategic importance for organizations, moving it beyond just a technical issue.
Exactly. This broader perspective is instrumental in elevating privacy to a strategic business risk. It helps organizations frame privacy not just as a compliance headache or a technical task siloed in IT, but as a genuine business risk that can significantly affect their brand reputation, customer loyalty, innovation potential, and ultimately, their bottom line. This elevation is absolutely essential for securing executive buy-in and allocating the necessary resources to build a robust, sustainable privacy program. It makes privacy a boardroom-level discussion.
And finally, how do all the parts we discussed, the core, profiles, tiers, work together to create something bigger than the sum of its parts?
Right, the interconnected components. That dynamic relationship between the core, profiles, and tiers creates a continuous loop of assessment, planning, implementation, and improvement. The core provides the universal language and the menu of desired outcomes. The profiles serve as the strategic blueprint for customization and gap analysis. Where are we? Where do we want to go? What's the gap? And the tiers provide that mechanism for measuring the organizational maturity and capacity needed to actually implement the plan effectively. This dynamic interplay makes the framework a powerful driver for fostering a culture of continuous improvement in privacy practices, not just a one-time fix or audit preparation.
So the real revelation from these philosophies, perhaps, that privacy isn't just about avoiding fines or preventing breaches. It's about building a sustainable, ethical business model where trust is the ultimate currency. It helps shift the organizational mindset from, can we technically do this with the data, to even if we can, should we? And if so, how can we do it responsibly?
That's a great way to put it.
It offers a truly comprehensive and strategic way for organizations to think about, implement, and continuously manage privacy, moving beyond mere compliance checklists to genuine, proactive, responsible data stewardship. Sextag 6.2 implementation challenges and criticisms.
Now, despite its many strengths and its elegant design, implementing the privacy framework is definitely not without its challenges. There are inherent complexities and practical hurdles that organizations need to navigate, and it's important we acknowledge those honestly.
Yeah, no framework is perfect or solves everything instantly. I can imagine that this very flexibility, which we highlighted as a strength, might also be a bit of a double-edged sword, especially for some organizations.
It absolutely can be. One major challenge is the complexity for smaller organizations. Its intentional flexibility and non-prescriptive nature can be quite daunting, especially for smaller businesses or nonprofits that have limited resources, maybe no dedicated privacy staff, and less in-house expertise.
They might prefer a simple checklist, even if it's less effective.
Sometimes, yes. The very lack of a prescriptive, one-size-fits-all approach means that significant time and effort are needed for tailoring the framework, creating those profiles, doing the risk assessments, prioritizing. This customization, while ultimately beneficial for effectiveness, can represent a substantial barrier to entry for smaller entities that might struggle to dedicate the necessary staff time and budget to do it thoroughly.
That makes sense, and I suspect getting different departments on the same page is always a challenge in any large organization, especially with something as inherently cross-cutting as privacy.
Oh, absolutely. A major organizational challenge, regardless of size really, is fostering that genuine culture of cross-departmental collaboration. Successfully implementing the framework requires extensive dialogue, cooperation, and sometimes negotiation between disparate teams. You've got legal, compliance, IT security, IT operations, product development, marketing, HR. Everyone touches data.
Breaking down those silos.
Exactly. Institutional resistance, we've always done it this way, turf wars, or just a simple lack of executive buy-in and prioritization remain significant hurdles in many organizations. Even though the framework explicitly tries to address this through the enhanced govern P function, emphasizing roles and oversight, and the ready, set, go model, promoting planning, it still requires a fundamental shift in how departments communicate and collaborate around data practices.
And then there's the criticism, or maybe just an observation, about its voluntary nature. Some might argue that without legal teeth, without the threat of fines, it might not be taken seriously enough by some companies.
That's a common point, and it's a valid discussion. The framework's voluntary nature means it lacks the direct enforcement mechanisms, the teeth of a legally binding regulation like GDPR. This may limit its adoption in some contexts, or potentially lead to more superficial adoption where organizations claim alignment without deep implementation, since it's not directly auditable in the same way as a compliance mandate.
The check-the-box risk.
Right. However, it's really important to remember that this voluntary nature is also arguably its greatest strength. Its status allows it to be more flexible, more adaptable, and more widely applicable internationally than a specific law could ever be. It can evolve more quickly than legislation. It avoids getting bogged down in specific legal language that might not translate across borders or sectors. Its influence and value come primarily from its practical utility, its consensus-based development, and its alignment with best practices, not just from regulatory compulsion.
So it's a trade-off. Less enforcement power, but more flexibility and broader applicability. Okay, so how does this voluntary guide actually stack up against or work with those mandatory legally binding privacy regulations we often hear about, like GDPR in Europe or CCPA in California, hashtag 6.3, comparison with mandatory regulations, GDPR, CCPA?
That's a key question for many organizations. The NIST Privacy Framework is expressly designed to complement, rather than compete with, mandatory privacy laws like Europe's GDPR and California's CCPA and its successor, CPRA. They serve different, but ideally mutually reinforcing, purposes in the broader privacy landscape.
Okay, so they're not mutually exclusive. Can you break down the key differences and, maybe more importantly, illustrate how they work together in practice? How does using NIST PF help with GDPR, for example?
Certainly. Let's compare. The NIST Privacy Framework, as we've established, is voluntary, risk-based, outcome-focused, and designed for global applicability. It focuses broadly on the process of privacy risk management and achieving desired outcomes. It doesn't have direct enforcement mechanisms tied to it.
Got it. And GDPR.
In contrast, GDPR, EU, is a comprehensive, mandatory law with a very specific focus on data subject rights, access, rectification, erasure, etc., and principles, lawfulness, fairness, transparency. It applies directly to the processing of personal data of individuals in the EU, regardless of where the organization is based. And critically, it carries significant potential fines up to 4% of global annual revenue and is actively enforced by national data protection authorities, DPAs.
So very different beasts. How does the framework help with GDPR compliance then?
The privacy framework structure can help organize efforts to meet GDPR requirements. For instance, the framework's control BAT function, with its focus on data processing management and enabling individual participation, aligns very well with GDPR's requirements for technical and organizational measures to ensure data protection, manage consent, and facilitate data subject rights requests. Using the framework can provide a structured way to implement and demonstrate those measures.
Okay. And how about the CCPAC PRA in California? Similar dynamic.
Similar dynamic, yes. The CCPAC PRA California is also a mandatory state law with a specific focus on consumer rights for California residents, including things like the right to know, delete, correct information, and importantly, robust rights to opt out of the sale or sharing of personal information, especially for advertising purposes. It also carries fines and is enforced by the California Privacy Protection Agency, CPPA, and the Attorney General.
And the framework's role here?
Again, it provides structure. The Privacy Framework's Communicate P function directly supports the detailed notice and transparency requirements of CCPAC-PA. And the Control APINE function helps organizations structure the processes needed to honor consumer rights requests, like access, deletion, correction, and managing those crucial opt-outs for sale sharing. So while the laws mandate what specific rights and obligations exist in those jurisdictions,
The framework helps with the how.
exactly. The Privacy Framework offers a flexible, structured way for organizations to approach how to build the programs and processes needed to meet those legal requirements effectively and proactively. Its various mappings and crosswalks that NIST provides can help organizations see the overlaps and structure their privacy programs in a way that can address multiple regulatory requirements simultaneously, while also covering wider ecosystem risks that specific laws might not detail as explicitly.
So the key takeaway about their relationship is that the privacy framework is less prescriptive legally, but it offers a broader, more process-oriented, outcome-based approach. It can support organizations in meeting the spirit and intent of these mandatory laws, not just the letter. It's a tool that helps bridge that often difficult gap between abstract legal mandates and concrete, practical, day-to-day implementation.
It acts as an organizational compass, really. It helps companies navigate the sometimes dense legal thicket and proactively build robust, risk-based privacy practices that can satisfy multiple compliance regimes more efficiently and sustainably. Hashtag tag 6.4, the future trajectory of the NIST Privacy Framework.
Looking ahead then, the privacy framework isn't static. You mentioned it's conceptualized as a living document. What does that mean for its future?
It means it's intended to continuously evolve. NIST sees it as needing to adapt in response to changing stakeholder needs, lessons learned from implementation, and of course, the incredibly dynamic nature of technology and policy. It's not meant to be a guideline that gets published once and then gathers dust on a shelf for a decade.
And the recent V1.1 update seems to really underline that commitment, doesn't it? It wasn't just cosmetic changes. There were significant structural updates based on feedback and alignment efforts.
It absolutely does. The ongoing evolution, particularly the substantive updates seen in version 1.1, clearly demonstrates NIST's strong commitment to keeping this tool current, relevant, and practical. Its explicit alignment with CSF 2.0 and the proactive integration of guidance related to AI risks signal a forward-looking approach. NIST is clearly trying to anticipate technological and policy changes rather than just reacting to them after the fact.
And does this continuous improvement and alignment make it more influential, even without being mandatory?
I think it does. This strategic interoperability with other widely adopted NIST frameworks like the CSF and the AI RMF is expected to make the privacy framework an increasingly necessary and influential component of any comprehensive enterprise risk management program. Its value comes from its practical utility, its broad applicability, and the consensus it builds, which strengthens its influence even without a direct legal mandate forcing adoption. More and more organizations see it as the standard for good practice.
And what about how the framework is delivered and supported? Are there plans for more interactive or dynamic resources beyond the main document?
Yes, definitely. That's another key part of its future trajectory. The future of the framework is also closely tied to an expanding ecosystem of online resources provided by NIST. With the V1.1 update, for instance, NIST moved some of the more detailed implementation guidelines and examples out of the core document and onto their website.
Why did they do that?
The thinking is to keep the foundational document itself stable and authoritative, while allowing supplementary resources to be updated more dynamically and frequently. So the focus is shifting towards providing more interactive and adaptable online tools. This includes things like the Quick Start Guide, continually updated crosswalks to other frameworks and regulations, practical hypothetical use cases for different sectors, and potentially even more interactive assessment tools down the line.
So the core stays solid, but the how-to guidance can adapt faster.
Exactly. This approach allows the core guidance to remain stable, while supplementary resources can be updated dynamically to address specific, emerging needs, like guidance for new AI applications or specific IoT risks, without constantly disrupting the core structure of the framework itself. It creates a more flexible and responsive support system for users.
That sounds very practical. So the overall impact here is that the NIST Privacy Framework is truly built for resilience and adaptability. It's continuously striving to be a practical and indispensable guide for organizations navigating the complex, ever-changing landscape of privacy risk, all while aiming to foster greater trust and enable responsible innovation. It's truly a journey of continuous improvement, not a static destination.
Well said. It provides a durable yet flexible foundation for the future. #outro.
Wow, what a deep dive today. We have truly unpacked the NIST Privacy Framework, exploring its unique and really crucial distinction between privacy risk and cybersecurity risk.
That core difference is key.
We dove deep into its flexible core with its 5 dynamic functions: identify, govern, control, communicate, and protect. We understood the power of profiles for tailoring it to your specific needs and the insight provided by the implementation tiers for measuring maturity.
That core profile tier structure is really the engine of the framework.
It is. We've also seen how it interoperates, how it connects seamlessly with other critical frameworks like the Cybersecurity Framework and the AI Risk Management Framework, creating a more unified approach to risk.
Avoiding those dangerous silos.
Exactly. Wow. And we looked at how practical models like Ready, Set, Go for program development and the whole philosophy of privacy by design integrated into the SDLC bring its powerful principles to life within organizations.
It's clear, I think, that this framework offers a profound and strategic shift in how organizations can approach data. It really pushes them beyond mere reactive compliance.
Beyond just ticking boxes.
To proactively managing privacy as a strategic business imperative. It's about building lasting trust with individuals and truly embedding ethical and responsible data use right into their core operations, into their culture. It's really about designing a better, more trustworthy digital future.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our final thought for you, our listeners. In a world where data is undeniably both the engine of incredible innovation and a source of profound risk, the question organizations, and maybe even we as individuals, need to ask isn't just, can we technically process this data?
The technology can often do amazing, sometimes scary things.
Right. But the deeper question is, even if we can, should we? If we decide we should, how can we do it in a way that genuinely respects the individual, minimizes harm, and builds lasting trust? So the provocative thought is this. What steps will you take, in whatever context you operate your work, your community, maybe your own startup, or even just in managing your personal digital life, to shift from reactive data management towards proactive privacy by design? How can you apply these principles to build more trust in your corner of the digital world? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.